This is the Royal Report.
Good evening, welcome to the Royal Report. I'm Caroline de Russo, and here's what we've got coming up on the show for you tonight. Now, Meghan Markle has launched yet another project. Will it fail like the others? Our expert panel on that shortly. The seemingly never-ending Kategate photo scandal deepens. We'll give you all the latest on that. And are we about to receive a major Princess Catherine update? Esther Kraku joins us from London with that story. But let's start with Meghan. And the Duchess of Sussex has finally given us an insight into her latest venture, American Riviera Orchard. One can only hope this project gives Meghan something for her to focus on commercially. Here's a sneak peek of her launch video. It's obviously difficult to build something from scratch, but when you have an extended following, like someone like Meghan has, you are already well ahead of the pack. How this venture develops, well, that's anyone's guess. Should it do well? Well, I expect there'll be a sigh of relief from the family in the UK. If Meghan is captured by her own personal success, she may just ease up on trying to undermine the royal family for her own commercial gain. And this can only be a good thing for ongoing family relations, because I'm not sure whether there'll be anything left to salvage if there's a continuation of what's gone on for the last 2 years. We'll discuss this with our panel in just a minute. But back in the UK, and it has been a week at fever pitch. You'll recall on this show last Sunday, we broke the news that Kensington Palace had released a photo of Princess Catherine and the children. The palace also released a photo of Prince Edward for his birthday, and various other photos are released over the year to mark certain occasions. Nothing appeared out of place at the time. Anyway, I woke up in the morning to a kerfuffle I could never have imagined about this photograph and its veracity. Somehow the editing of this photo, which Princess Catherine later apologised for, lit the powder keg for all manner of other scuttlebutt, and it continued all week. The criticisms have been cutting, hysterical and totally unabated. Joining me now is News Corp columnist Angela Mollard and royal expert Pandora Forsyth. Lady, this photo scandal with Kensington Palace has absolutely raged all week. Angela, I appreciate there's an objection to the photo being edited, but has it been blown out of proportion? And is there really this existential trust issue, which has been breathlessly talked about all week?
Look, it's a tricky question because yes and no. Look, Kate has, as we know, apologised for the fact that she edited this picture. This is something that everybody does. But the problem is that in the age of AI and disinformation and generation of pictures, the palace has always had that saying they have to be seen to be believed. Well, now they have to be credible to be believed. So to answer your question, Caroline, is this an existential crisis? I don't think it is a crisis. There's far worse crises that I've covered with the royal family over the years. But I think it's one that begs the question is the palace, Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, are their PR machines up to speed? They are now operating in a social media universe, but they don't seem to be up to speed with how to play in that universe. It's all very well, everybody now is a brand. Everybody has their own megaphone through social media. But if you are going to do it, then you need to do it properly. And what's also really sad about this is that Kate and William have always given us pretty good access. They've taken photos themselves of their own children. I wonder how that might now affect that. Kate is clearly going to be annoyed. She's going to be very cautious about what she does going forward. So those lovely photos that we've seen for, 10, 11 years now of the children, we may not see them again. So I don't think it's a massive trust issue, but I think it will play out for some time to come.
Pandora, you're there in the UK, and while we know what's been making the rounds on social media, does that translate to the sentiment on the ground amongst Britons?
Yeah, I mean, the mistrust, especially online, is very evident and it's very much there. And the way that these social media platforms now work is any negative feedback gets brought onto everybody's feeds. Social media is awash with rumours, conspiracy theories, and Kensington Palace do acknowledge that, should I say, because they did say social media madness and everything that comes with it the week before they decided to release this image. Now, the ironic thing here is the image was actually supposed to calm down social media rumours, but actually it just ramped them up even more so. And now they leave themselves in this really tricky situation where they've essentially gone off their own line, where it was, you will not hear from Catherine until after Easter. Well, that they went off it. So now it's opened the door to more speculation, more questions from the media and from journalists in the UK saying, well, you went off your own rule book. So now it's kind of opened the door for us to ask questions here in the UK.
And we've spoken so much about Meghan Markle's proposed new venture, and we saw a sneak peek of the American Riviera orchard this week. Now, Angela, what is this new project and what's her differentiating factor?
I don't really know what a differentiation is here. Look, American Riviera Orchard, you know, it's really long. It apparently refers to the area where she lives in and that sort of lovely orchardy type environment. I don't have a problem with this. I actually think this is right up her street. She's done this before with the TIG. She had that lifestyle blog. She's always said, you know, there's been a lot of rumours in the last couple of years that she wants to set herself up as a sort of Gwyneth Paltrow, Martha Stewart type figure. It's entirely okay for her to do that. I mean, the Prince, when he was Prince Charles, the King, set up Duchy Originals, which is a sort of organic farming, produce, biscuits, teas, that sort of thing that he made at Highgrove, and the money and the proceeds from that went back into that estate. I actually think this is very on brand for Meghan. I have signed up. I'm already a subscriber to that to her newsletter, so I'm really looking forward to that content. And you know, something that she's doing in her own right, earning money. They've got a lot of bills to pay. They have big security. Good for her.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it surprises absolutely no one who watches this show that you've already signed up as a subscriber, Angela. Now, Pandora, look, there's occasionally criticism of the Sussexes using their royal connections for commercial purposes. Does this offend the rule here, or is it rather separate?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So if you actually go onto the Instagram, she says Meghan and then says the Duchess of Sussex. Now, part of the agreement was, when they left the royal family but kept the titles, was you can't monetize the titles to a certain extent. So the fact she's using the Duchess, but she's led with Meghan, I think she might just get away with it because she's led with Meghan, not the Duchess, on Instagram, which shows her, you know, it's 4 years on since that freedom flight when she did announce it, and the timing was very key. I mean, that's a whole another topic in terms of the timing of it all. But there is a market for it, and as Angela has just said, this is very Meghan, this is very her. I can see why and how she's done it because of her background with the TIG beforehand. But when you monetize and buy products by using, part of the reason why you're buying it is by using the Duchess name, well, then you might lead yourself with a bit of a problem. But because she's led with Meghan and not the Duchess, I think she might just get away with it.
We will see. No doubt there'll be criticism, even if it's not necessarily warranted. But Pandora, I'll stay with you for this next one. And look, despite the rumours of this week, and there have been plenty, Camilla and William have continued with their royal engagements. What have they been up to?
Yeah, so there was a set piece this week, which was the Commonwealth Day service. This is a really big day in the royal calendar. This is usually where you see all of the senior royals coming together. This week we just saw the Prince of Wales and the Queen, Camilla, there together alongside some less senior royals. Obviously, they weren't with their better halves, but that was to be expected. We know we weren't going to see Catherine, and we know we weren't going to see the King either. But it did change it slightly, but I think this week also has proved how much they're very much relying on each other at the moment in quite difficult circumstances, and their relationship is so amicable at the moment. They're so open with one another. We got some lovely pictures of them laughing along at times outside of the cathedral, and this will be going into next week as well with more Commonwealth Day events too for the less senior working royals. is a huge event in the calendar, and they made most in quite difficult circumstances. And their relationship has improved so much over the years. Look, let's go back 10, 15 years ago. Do you think they'd be sitting next to each other laughing along? I don't think so. So yeah, they're really relying on each other at the moment, whilst their better halves, or their other half, should I say, have their own health issues going on.
And Angela, despite Charles's health concerns, he's been attending to some official engagements, some online and some in person. What do we know about the way he's managing himself?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because, of course, he is going through treatment for cancer. We know that. We don't know specifics about that treatment, but he is wanting to still be visible, doing royal work. So we've seen him. Yes, he wasn't at that Commonwealth ceremony, as Pandora mentioned, but he did put out a video at that event. He also met, and there were photographs of at Buckingham Palace of him meeting with Baroness Patricia Scotland, who is the Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. He has a deep and abiding affection for the Commonwealth, and yes, he understands that many countries within the Commonwealth are considering being republics. Some already have, and he welcomes that. He welcomes that discussion, but he really views the work of the monarchy to be central. One of the central jobs is the Commonwealth, and he'll have been very disappointed not to have been there. But I think being visible is clearly very important to him while he's at this stage of his treatment.
And Angela, one more. I've got about a minute for you, and I love this next story. An artwork by King Charles has sold at auction this week for £20,000. But it's not any ordinary artwork, is it?
That's right. It's a painting of a lock. It doesn't look that sophisticated to me, but anyway, somebody found it in their toilet. They didn't realise that they had it sitting there. They realised it was a Prince Charles, now King Charles original. And instead of it being a print of a Charles artwork, which is sold in the past, this one is actually an original. They thought it would go for £10,000 to £15,000. It actually went for £20,000, about 40,000 Australian dollars. So I don't know if someone's got themselves a bargain or something to decorate the bathroom.
I love that story. That is just absolutely, it's amazing what you find around the house. Angela Mollard, Pandora Forsyth, the ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Now, coming up, are we about to receive a major Princess Catherine update? Esther Kraku joins us from London to discuss. Welcome back to the show. Joining us now is writer and broadcaster Esther Kraku. Esther, welcome back. Now, look, there's been just so much furore this week about Princess Catherine and that photo. Look, we know she's taking time to recover from her surgery. No doubt this has just been some extra stress. Do we know when she's likely to return to royal duties?
So when the Princess of Wales announced that she was taking some time off to recover from abdominal surgery back in January, I believe it was January on the 16th, she said that according to medical advice, she would likely only be back in her royal duties after Easter. And I suspect that still remains to be the case. Now, this story has completely blown up for reasons that remain unknown to me. This is just a woman that did some editing on a picture and suddenly the world has lost its mind, it seems. But there is a lesson here, and the lesson to be learned here is the fact that the royals and the royal PR machine is extremely fragile, and they're always kind of walking this tightrope of being accessible but not too accessible to the public. I mentioned before, I think Kate felt the need to release that picture because of these rumors that were circulating about where she really is she actually recovering from surgery. A group of people online were using this as a way to speculate that she had a BBL and that she was going to come out looking like a Kardashian. Some people used this to link to the fact that no one ever landed on the moon. I mean, it was just ludicrous. But at the end of the day, the royal family have to be very careful about not making themselves too accessible to the public, or they might risk going down the route of Harry and Meghan, who have effectively lost a lot of their public appeal because they just reveal too much, they talk too much. The royal family, at the end of the day, whether you're a monarchist or not, has a public role to play. They're effectively professional ambassadors. And to that end, they obviously have to have a public profile, but they have to stay on task. They're a media machine, just by their very existence, and so anything that's linked to them, any sort of controversy or anything that can be newsworthy, is likely to blow up. And unfortunately, Kate had to experience this while she's recovering from surgery. And I actually wish she didn't feel the need or the pressure to release some sort of photo to effectively calm down the public, which arguably had the opposite effect.
And I'm not sure that pressure has necessarily subsided, because there's been a couple of snippets in the media over the last couple of days about a pending royal announcement or an update. Is this just speculation, or is there actually something in the pipeline?
So every year, the Waleses release a picture for their children's birthday. So it's a kind of a tradition that they've cultivated within their family. And Prince Louis's birthday is coming up. We're expected to see a sort of family picture within that same tradition. Again, this could be kind of a redo for the Waleses after the controversy of their Mother's Day photo. Who knows? But we're hearing that Princess Catherine could be actually more open about her medical intervention in the coming days, alongside this picture that we expect to be released. So, the Waleses are going to be a lot more careful about what the kind of information they release to the public. Again, this is clearly a blunder on their side, because they've been in the royal family as working royals for a number of years now. They're highly experienced. They know how quickly the media storm can generate. So this seemed quite uncharacteristic of them. But again, you can forgive them for the innocent mistake of trying their hands at Adobe Photoshop.
And there was an interesting piece in the Times today about the palace having learned some harsh lessons over the last couple of weeks, which I think they absolutely might, and how they might address them going forward. You'd think some sort of protocol would have to be put in place to avoid this happening again.
Of course, but this is, again, uncharted territory. It's not every day that a relatively healthy woman in her early 40s undergoes abdominal surgery. Now, obviously, her father-in-law, King Charles, was very open about his cancer diagnosis and his prostate surgery. And many charities and many groups across the UK and across the world, congratulated him for that, because it really drew awareness to a very common issue that many elderly men face. And in contrast, unfortunately, this happened around at the same time. In contrast, you had Princess Catherine, who's perfectly entitled to not reveal details of her medical diagnosis, but she did reveal that she had abdominal surgery and was going to be effectively MIA for 2.5, 3 months. And unfortunately, I think that broke the public in a way that no one ever anticipated. The palace is going to be more careful moving forward. I think, again, the issue here is straddling that fine line between making yourself available to the public, but not too available. And unfortunately, the closest example you can draw to that are the Sussexes, the faux royals across the pond. I mean, they kind of went for the American style. Let's reveal everything. Let's talk about our feelings. And they didn't really endear themselves to the public, because in as much as they saw their grievances as valid, most people just saw the sheen wear off. You had just a couple of really rich, wealthy, literally a prince and princess whinging about their lot in life. And many people couldn't identify with that. They were talking about things that were clearly close to their hearts, like climate change, but then were taking a private jet every chance that they got. And so in many ways, the Waleses have had to learn from the Sussexes' blunders, and there are many of them, and not go down the same route. Now, do you completely shut yourself off? No, because once you open Pandora's box and you make yourself available to the public to a certain extent, you have to maintain it. And so the Waleses have had to really kind of figure out what is the best way to do that. And unfortunately, this is one instance where it didn't go too well for them.
Now, the annual Diana Legacy Awards ceremony was held this week. It's the great separated but double act by William and Harry. How did it play out?
So in a move that surprised absolutely no one, the brothers were completely separate. I mean, Prince William left even before Harry's virtual appearance at the award ceremony. I mean, I know a winner of the awards that actually had met Prince William in person and then had to go across London to have a virtual call with Prince Harry. Clearly, the rift between the two brothers have calcified. It's been rumored that they haven't spoken in over a year since the publication of Harry's book Spare. We know that in that book there were many scathing allegations against basically Prince William and his wife, Princess Catherine, which I'm sure Prince William didn't take lightly at all. And the really sad irony here is this is not what Princess Diana would have wanted her legacy to be. She wouldn't have wanted her two sons to effectively not speak to each other. But it just goes to show, how deep the rift goes. I suspect when William becomes king, I don't think that there's only going to be any kind of rapprochement on the part of the brothers. I suspect he might even remove the titles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and you kind of make the excuse that if you're not a working member of the royal family, you don't get a title. He might actually strip Prince Andrew of his titles as well, which would be his right to do so. But it's really unfortunate because if you're having a ceremony to celebrate your late mother's legacy and you two are nowhere, to be seen with each other. I mean, Prince Harry not turning up for that awards is also quite peculiar because he's come to the UK for what you could argue are less important matters. I mean, he's only popped in and out for his court cases or to see his father momentarily before he went to Las Vegas to present an award at a very tawdry award show that I think was really quite beneath him. But, the fact that he didn't even turn up and clearly the two parties' teams didn't really communicate in any way that would signal that the two are back on speaking terms, let alone good terms, is really quite sad.
And I think it takes away from the purpose and I suppose the legacy of Princess Diana herself. I think it's ultimately very unfortunate. Now, we've often talked on this show about polls and the popularity of various members of the royal family. We haven't had one of those in a while, despite everything that's been going on. But what does the latest show?
So a latest poll that was commissioned by The Express, a newspaper here in the UK, showed that Harry and Meghan are the fourth most popular royal couple after Prince William and Princess Catherine, the King and Queen, and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. So it's I mean, they were only above, I suspect, Prince Andrew and his no longer wife, which wouldn't make them a couple, but effectively they're the least popular couple, royal couple here in the UK. And that's not surprising. I've always said that this couple didn't really stay as working royals long enough to have any skin in the game. A lot of their grievances, as they put it, seemed a bit trivial because it felt like they kind of just had a go at it, tried it, didn't like it, didn't feel like they were given everything that they wanted, didn't really stick around to actually try and make it work long enough. I suspect the pressures on the couple to have children as soon as possible, because obviously they were getting on in years, also added an extra dimension that made, their difficulties with adjusting to their role in the royal family quite difficult.
Esther Kraku, thank you for those insights as always. If anyone is looking for a career change, King Charles is looking for a new chef. The role includes preparing meals for the family to the highest standard and travelling to the other royal residences. Thankfully, there's a live-in option because the salary isn't probably what you'd expect, a grand total of £37,000 or 71,000 Australian dollars. And that's the show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Up next is Newsnight. Good night and we'll catch you next week.